Welcome to True You Ministries. I'm Stacy Echeverria, your pastoral counselor. I am a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught me the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. I'm so grateful that you've joined me this week. You can learn more about me and my heartfelt desire to help people much like yourself who may be at a place of pain and confusion by calling me at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344. Or feel free to email me at info@trueyouministries.com. Now, sit back, listen, watch, and enjoy the show. And welcome back to True You Ministries. This is part 2 of how to stop parenting and start leading. If you've missed part 1, you want to make sure that you go back and watch that. My special guest, Thomas Pfanner, had some really great things that he shared in part 1. So you want to make sure to go back. I'll include that link in the show notes for part 2 as well. And so, Thomas, welcome back. It's good to have you here.
Absolutely. Excited to drop back in.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into some nitty gritty stuff. I always love having part 2 being a part of the show where we will share some tips, some practical things that our audience can walk away with that they can implement. And most importantly, everyone, if you want to know more about what Thomas is sharing, you want to make sure that you reach out to him and get onto his website at dadswholead.com. He's got a lot of information on his site about the coaching that he does offer. And so, yes, you'll walk away with a little bit here, but if you want more, go ahead and reach out to him. All right, so let's get into it. So how can we be a guide for our kids so they can be the main characters in their own story?
Amazing. So this is an awesome question, and it takes me to one of the big issues that we have in the United States that is getting completely covered up by all sides of the media. And that is we have, in 2020, 52% of adults 18 to 29 living at home with their parents.
52%?
52%, based on the U.S. Census, of adults between the ages of 18 and 29 living at home with one of their parents.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people, the economy and the inflation, and like the truth is, we can have all that in front of us, but look at some of the adversity that people overcame in the 1930s, much less before then, right? So the opportunities are out there if your son or daughter is the person who can create a house over their head or find a room to rent and find a place to get pasta on sale and create that story for themselves. They can make it happen, right? So this is really passionate. I'm really passionate about this question because when I was a teacher, I saw kids doing a fantastic job of learning how to be a supporting character, learning how to be a role character and do tasks for other people. And I believe that's something that school does a really great job of, is teaching kids how to do tasks for other people. What school does not do a particularly great job of is helping young men and women learn how to do tasks for themselves. And I believe that is one of our biggest roles as men, as fathers. If we look at the evolution of a child from 0 to 10 and 10 to 20, that 10 to 20, I think there's a shift where the fatherly role of helping prepare as opposed to protect becomes more important. Because if you have a protected child in their teens, they're going to want to continue to be protected. If you have a child in their teens who is prepared, they're going to continue to want to utilize that preparation. And
I see that playing out in our own family. I have to tell you, there's a nephew.
Please.
I just can't. I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. But he's almost 40 and he's living at home with mom and dad.
Wow.
breaks my heart. He's a smart kid. He's a
Yes.
smart kid. And that's what happens
As well.
when they're protected rather than helping them prepare.
Yes. So as we'll look at, okay, what makes a great role character versus what makes a great main character, the main character is willing to face challenges, willing to take risks, willing to put themselves out there. Look, if most people have seen the movie Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
and in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, he goes through challenges. In the second movie, I'm going to spoil the trilogy for you if you haven't seen it. It's been out for like almost 40 years. So the second
I
movie,
saw it when it first came out as a young teenager. Then now I'm dating myself. Yeah.
he fights this villain, Darth Vader. He's actually not ready to do it. He ends up getting his hand cut off, losing the fight, having to go back. He gets this devastating news that this villain ends up being his father, and he's torn up, and he has to go back to the drawing board and come back. But as we see his arc continue, as he's stepping into those situations, whether he succeeds in the fight or not, he's always willing to step into the fight. And he's always willing to see the hope and the good in things. And so as we develop ourselves as main characters first, as a dad and a leader, we have to ask ourselves, are we setting the example for our kids that we're going after what matters to us in life?
Right.
Right. I have a client who he is an electrician, but he is also developing a fishing rod company, and he's building custom fishing rods because that's what he loves. He wants to create help create these memories. So whether he's succeeding or failing, ups and downs in the business, he's setting an example for his family. Like, this is a vision that I see for myself. I'm going after it. I am going north, the direction that I feel called to go.
Right.
Not just what somebody else is calling me to do. Right. And so that's just an example. It could be fitness. It doesn't matter what it is, but is there evidence that you as a dad are you a man who is going after something that matters to you with conviction? So before we even talk to our kids about, are you playing soccer? Are you applying for colleges? We have to look at ourselves and say, are we taking the steps? Because that will build the foundation that we're a man that's respected. If your teenage daughter wakes up in the morning and she hears you like moving weights around and grunting in the garage, even if she's like, oh, dad's up working out. Very subconscious. You can never have to, I worked out this morning. You don't have to do that. It's just there. Like, dad works out. My dad works out in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful position to put yourself as a dad. And it's the position that God has called you to take. Yeah. Because there is something within your heart that makes you who you are. When you take the time to listen to God, there's a direction that he wants you to go. Right.
I agree.
That's the most powerful gift that you can give your kids. And the media, if you watch a sitcom, the dad is a butt of jokes, lazy.
He's a buffoon.
Drinks beer, buffoon, watches the game, funny jokes, makes some money for the family.
Yeah.
Not really that intimate with his wife, not attractive. And the thing that gets really powerful is it becomes a mirror. If we start to consume these things subconsciously, that's what I ought to be. That's what I see. We start to mimic. So the things that we consume is very, we should be very protective and intelligent with what we're consuming, because it's going to influence the people that we become.
Right. I agree. And the influence that we really want is biblical leadership, right? What does that look like? And there's a beautiful example in Jesus Christ as a leader, and how he leads, right? And with humility and yet with strength at the same time, right? He submitted to the Father, right? We're
Yes.
and the men are to be submitted to Christ as as he is. So there's a hierarchy, if you will, and it's just so beautifully laid out. But if we are looking to Hollywood and media to educate, well, they're not. They're really not.
Yes.
They're really tearing down families with a lot of the stuff that's out there, and it's so detrimental in the long term, anyway. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes. So
Yeah.
your kids should watch a show. Like I remember there was one called King of Queens when I was growing up.
Yep.
We should watch that and not even recognize you as a dad. I don't like to use the word should, but when they watch that show, at least for me, I'd like my son and my daughters to, that's a completely different dude than my dad. I know
Yeah.
that that's a character on a show, but
Yeah.
that's like fantasy, right? That's like, it may as well be Superman or something. Like it's not a connection. It's supposed to be funny because that's how your dad is. But that's like, they're going to be like, maybe somebody
Yeah.
else's dad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of issues with that. I mean, I've seen it. I have seen it, and it has been funny at times. The characters are just so outlandish. But you look at it and you go, how did that marriage last? That's my question, right? How did it last? Because there wasn't a lot of respect there. I'll be honest with you. The character of Carrie was so mean.
yes,
I thought she was vicious at times, and yet, he just Doug goes along being like the bumbling idiot,
yep,
kind of thing. And I'm just going, how does a marriage last with those two in it? It can't, right? And so I love that you that you're like, just watch it and see if you can identify yourself in that. And if you do, all right, everyone, for those of you that are watching and listening, you need to reach out to Coach Thomas right now, because you don't want that kind of marriage. You don't want to have that kind of relationship with your family either. And you really want to lead well in the biblical way. So anyway, but I'm glad you brought that up. Good
yes,
point.
yes.
Yeah.
So all that said, as we're helping our kids become the main character,
Mm-hmm.
school is going to help them learn how to be the role character. Like Chewbacca in Star Wars, great role character,
Yeah.
good morals, supports his friend, very loyal, but he's not the one making the decisions, not one making the hard decisions. And ultimately, we know that to be successful in life, our kids are going to have to make tough and hard decisions, and
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we can lead by example. That's the first role. And like the next level to that is being great communicators and great listeners, and knowing where is your son or daughter at? Where is it that they're wanting to go? Because,
Mm-hmm.
if your dad listening, man, like my teenage daughter, she listens to Taylor Swift and she has all these like the stuff she does on TikTok and like media. And yes, the question is, how can you outflank the attention of a phone,
Right.
to be so that you have what advantage do you have as a dad? And the advantage is you can be a great listener.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are very, very few great listeners on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know your teenage daughter's story, and you know her friends' names, and you know the shows that she likes, and the people on her team, and the things that she's going through, you know her story, just like we're talking about Star Wars or any other show. Like if you know the story, you know the backstory, you can jump in on any episode and catch right up.
Yep.
If you know what's happening in your kid's life because you have that open line of communication, you will always have a spot on their roster, regardless of their age.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
being a great listener is one of the best things we have. And every now and then when you're a great listener, you have the opportunity to ask great questions that can help direct their decision making.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you said that, because in the work that I do, I never tell my clients what to do. I ask them questions because they
Yes.
already know. It's in them. So it's up to the dads to bring it out, right? To bring it out and pull it out of their kids. And part of great communication, right? Apart from listening, obviously listening, that active listening, but also you're seeking to understand,
Yes.
right? And the kids want to be seen and known. They want to know that they are valued and appreciated, right? That they're loved. And when, because I didn't have that in my family growing up, my parents didn't have these tools. I never felt like I belonged in the family. I never felt like I was heard or seen or valued at all. I was always told what to do and all these restrictions and rules and regulations. And well, I followed the rules because I just didn't want to get into trouble. But then as I got older, I was like, oh no, I'm a rules breaker. I'm kind of a rebel. And so that came out later in life, but not in an adverse way. But I mean, too, the home is where the kids need a soft landing place. Regardless of what may be going on with them, they need to know that they are loved and accepted,
Yes.
period. And
Yes.
that you won't disown them. You won't stop loving them because, in our humanity, we will mess up. But then what's the lesson that comes out of that? And what can they learn and grow through, in that?
Yes. Yes. So like for me and my son, it's been so many times that there've been times where I haven't been able to get a hold of him at all. And then all of a sudden he just calls me and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, actually, nothing specific. I just wanted to call and talk. And it's like, okay, like he wants to be here. What's going on? And
Yeah.
he'll share
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
thing he's going through. And so
Yeah.
my son is someone who has to fall and crash and burn on his
Mm.
own. And then he
Mhm.
will come back and circle back to his corner and say, okay, what did I mess up? How can I get better? But he doesn't respond to it. Like, hey, because we do Muay Thai and martial arts together. He's
Uh-huh.
like, hey, if you cover up here, this would be an advantage for you. No, he's going to go and study a bunch of stuff and try stuff out of his own. And then when it doesn't work, he'll get help with it. But he doesn't want help.
Yeah.
Like that is the worst thing for him is to feel like
Yeah.
he's getting help. Like he
Wow.
has to be willing to be in a space to fail. And that can be hard to watch as a dad. 'Cause like,
Sure.
all right, like you're going to crash and burn. And now you got to pick up the pieces. It would have been easier if you would have done it, so a different way the first time, but we
Yeah.
move forward with what we have.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you like what you're hearing and listening and watching, reach out to Coach Thomas through his email, Coach Pfanner, Pfanner at Gmail, or visit his website, dadswholead.com. There's the last question here. So we talked about, what does it mean to be a main character? What does it mean to be a role or supporting character? The last question here is, what are the dangers?
The dangers of just being a role character, we kind of alluded to this at the start as,
Yeah.
being stuck at home,
Mm-hmm.
not willing to take risks, not willing to live the life that God's called you to live,
Right.
playing it safe. So I ask myself every day or before bed, going into the next day, what's the best move on the board for tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
God, what is
Mm-hmm.
it?
Mm-hmm.
What's the actions that I need to take to put,
Right.
be the best me and be the best dad?
Yeah.
And for our kids, like success for me is a child who's willing to look at the board and say, you know what, I'm going to make a move. Even if the move's not the right move, they're making moves. They're not just going to say, I'm going to wait. I'm going to see if I can think about it and take my time and make the perfect decision to make this next move. No, like here's a move. We're going to do it. We're going to move
Yep.
forward. We're going to go.
Yep.
And so the risk is, you look up at the end of, like, for me, end of a year, for our kids, the end of their youth.
Yeah.
They've been behind a screen. What did they accomplish? Have they
Right.
accomplished a skill set? Do they have something to give back to the world now that they're 18? Are they still just trying to consume? So the danger of not developing the skills and the danger of not being ready is, like, we don't have the ability to give back, or we don't have the ability to be a person that can make that tough decision and move down and enjoy this game of life, enjoy the relationships and experiences that God has called us to have. Because we're living from a space of fear, and that's where the enemy wants us to be.
Yeah.
A space of fear and doubt. And it starts with having the courage and practicing the muscle of courage to take the action.
Right. Absolutely. And courage doesn't mean that there's an absence of fear. You move forward anyway, in spite of it. Right?
Correct.
That's what that is. I think of a movie. I don't know if you've seen it. I was just so appalled by it. Failure to Launch, with Matthew McConaughey and how do you pronounce his last name? And Sarah Jessica Parker. And here's this. He's like close to his 40s, still living at home with mom and dad, and they hire this woman to help get him going. Failure to launch. And that is what we're seeing, like with in my husband's family. And I'm just going, don't you want to be out on your own? Really? Don't you want to be out on your own? Don't you? So they're being infantilized, which is just, it's not protection. It's enabling. It's really crippling them. They're stunted emotionally, right? A lot of smart young people out there that don't seem to know where they're going. And the thing is, it comes back to, if you don't prepare them and help them with a roadmap, they're going to end up somewhere they hadn't prepared to get to, right? There's no, if you're failing to plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really sad. And yet there's glimmers of hope with some of the this younger generation, where we're seeing some of those young leaders emerging.
Yes.
Which I think is just really, it's hopeful. It's beautiful to see. So I so appreciate, Thomas, you coming on and sharing, the wisdom the Lord has downloaded to you, and in how to lead rather than parent. I think you've shared some great tips, some things that people can walk away with and consider. So seriously consider these things that we've discussed here today, and do reach out to Coach Thomas at his email address, Coach Pfanner, PFANNER @gmail, or his website at dadswholead.com. And for those of you that are interested and you want to know more, go ahead and take his free leadership quiz. It's on his website, dadswholead.com. There's a pop-up. Click on that. You've got nothing to lose. And, consider working with Coach Thomas here. He will guide you and help you be the dad that you want to be. So thank you so much again for coming on the show. Some great insights here, some great information. And as we did last time, anything else that you would like to leave our audience with that they can take away?
I think, honestly, the greatest thing that you can do as a dad is set the example, listen to where God is calling you. And as hard as it seems to take the focus away from your kids and put it on yourself, a lot of really powerful things can happen when that happens. And if you're thinking, like, man, I want some support with taking that step, please reach out, take our quiz. The quiz is free, and you'll get linked in with our emails, and there's some other freebies you'll get as you subscribe. So I'd love to chat.
Yeah, love that. And there's nothing to lose to go ahead and reach out. You never know what may inspire you to take that next step. And for those of you dads that have been on the fence about, what's Christianity all about? What does it mean, to accept Jesus into my heart and salvation and everything? I'd say give us a call, give me a call, reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you because, Jesus is the one that can help you be the dad that you really want to be. He's designed you to be a dad. And so this is a serious responsibility that you have, right? And so why not equip yourself with some really great tools by reaching out to Coach Thomas here, as well as inviting Jesus Christ into your life to have that spiritual support as well to be the dad that you're meant to be. So reach out to me if you have any questions about salvation. My website's trueyouministries.com, or you can call me at 626-461-3344 or email me at info@trueyouministries.com. Again, Thomas, thank you so much for being on the show.
You.
It was, yeah, absolutely. I know you've downloaded to our audience some really great things that they can take away and think about. And to everyone that's watched and listened, thank you so much for being here. And may the Lord bless you richly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to True You Ministries with me, Stacy Echeverria, your pastoral counselor. I'm a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught me the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. You can learn more about me and my heartfelt desire to help people, much like yourself, who may be at a place of pain and confusion by calling me at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344, or feel free to email me at info@trueyouministries.com. That email once again is info@trueyouministries.com. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and may God richly bless you.